tell me this. What sports do you feel like it actually makes the most sense for to have no spectators in the arena or the field, so to speak?
Tennis, golf, and baseball.
I don't see anything.
I've said that last week. Max disagreed with me on baseball, but tennis and golf definitely, and I think baseball, you can pull that off as well. If you think about the pace of the sport, just think about it from this perspective, okay? I'm not saying that the fans are irrelevant in any sport. They're pivotal. We get all of that. And the energy and the enthusiasm and what have you, and the fervor that they bring to an event. Obviously, LeBron James was absolutely on the money when he articulated those thoughts about them. But the reality is that when you look at the pace of play, particularly in a sport like basketball, the importance of the fans elevate exponentially. Let's think about tennis, how it's one-on-one, it's solo, and you're going back and forth, hitting the ball at each other, and the fans, you know, they might ooh and ah a little bit, but they cheer once the particular game is over, once the particular set is over. Golf, simply the same principle to some degree. You can get away with that. Then I get to baseball, and here's what I think about. I think about the picture sitting there, and he throws a pitch. Then after that, he messes with his cap. He turns around. He walks back to the mound. He's, you know, sitting there digging his heels in the dirt. He's taking his times. You have outfielders out in the outfield wearing their shades, you know, eating pumpkin seeds and all of this other stuff. You got guys waiting at first, second, shortstop, and third base. They sitting up there just waiting for the action to take place. There's so much inactivity in the midst of a baseball game that transpires. I think you can pull off playing that game with little to no problems without fans in attendance for the foreseeable future. That's just the way that I view it. I wouldn't say that about football, because even though football, you're running one play, and then after that, it's a huddle, and then after that, you're throwing an incomplete pass, and it's another huddle. You can pull it off with football too, not basketball. But I think baseball, tennis, golf, and to a lesser degree, football, excuse me, you damn sure could pull it off.
I totally see it the opposite, Stephen A. I know what I agree with a lot of your analysis. I totally disagree with your conclusion. You know why the Montreal Expos are now the Washington Nationals? They didn't have any fans. You know, baseball is a sport that needs the fans. Let's start with this premise. Basketball is the best sport, and the NBA is the best league. You know, like, and I could come up with a whole bunch of definitions for you to prove it, but take my word for it. Basketball is nonstop action, plus dramatic moments, plus displays of athletic ability, teamwork, the whole thing. It's a more elegant game. It's more accessible. It's more easily understood than, say, football with a lot of Byzantine rules. But more than that, the things that you're talking about with baseball means that there's this dramatic buildup, slow buildup to these big moments. Not only does baseball need more help along the way, but when those big moments come, you need that payoff. Baseball in front of few fans is deadly compared to basketball. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is all these sports benefit from fans. I'm not going to address golf or tennis. I'm not talking about one-on-one sports. If we're talking one-on-one sports, the answer is boxing. Because you can go to a gym and see two guys with headgear spar 3 fast rounds, hard rounds. You can go see a gym war somewhere in Philly or Detroit and come away totally entertained by a gym war with almost no one in the gym. I mean, that can happen. So the answer is really boxing. But I'm talking about major American team sports. We're really talking baseball, football, and basketball. Football, like basketball, depends on these dramatic moments building up and then the payoff. Basketball is more nonstop up and down action. And while all sports benefit from the fans, the one I feel can deliver the best bang for your buck, even without them, is the NBA in particular.
No, I agree. I think the NBA is set up. The weird thing about it is that we are the sport that could probably do it without. Obviously, there'd be a lot of communication that was heard via, the players talking if you didn't have that crowd noise. But ultimately, it's also the one that has the fans the closest. That's, I think, the part that's so weird. And one of the things that Bron talked about is he understands this. This is more of just talking about the weirdness, something that you've never experienced. You know, this is an individual that had his high school games nationally televised in the early 2000s before they were putting national televised games on TV. And so I understand what he's saying is that having fans not be there would change the experience. But you know what he wants and what everybody in this league wants? They want to play basketball. They want to entertain the fans. And one last thing that I want to talk about is we've always talked about growing the game, the fans' interaction. So to take that part away, I think would be difficult for all sports, but I think basketball is the one sport that could pull it off.
Well,
and to your point,
that I want to remind
Richard,
everybody.
Hold
on, Max. Hold on, Max. The one thing I want to remind everybody is this: we're not talking about something permanent here. These are special, rare, very unique times for our nation. Everybody's acting like, oh my goodness, it's a choice. It's not a choice at this particular moment in time. So we got to make sure that we remind ourselves and everybody out there, it's not a choice at this particular moment in time. You are in California right now, RJ. You're not here when you was with Get Up or in studio with us. LeBron James is home. A whole bunch of athletes are home. You're not even working out together. Are you telling me that's ideal? Of course it's not. But in desperate times, you're talking about what could possibly work. I totally agree with the both of y'all. And Max, props to you because boxing and UFC, I might add, are both sports you could pull this off as well. But there are a multitude of sports out there. It's great in any situation to have the fans, but you can still exist without the fans for the foreseeable future with knowing that the second this subsides and we conquer this, the fans are going to be back because you're doing it for them. So essentially, they are involved. They're just not in place, but they're even more grateful to you than ever before because you're going to go out there and play the games without them in attendance, knowing that you crave them being there. They'll rush back to you the second they're allowed to.